All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got Wednesday NBA action today, 10 games on the slate. In today's video, I want to dive into each of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. Talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment of this video for all of my final plays. If you do want to ride with me or if you want to fade me, all of those plays are going to be listed in the pinned comment for free. In terms of last night, NBA opening night, we wanted to have a great night. We wanted to start off with some fireworks, and now I could make the excuse that we didn't have a lot of data. The Celtics blew out the Knicks. That messed everything up. This is not the business for excuses. It's just a bad night last night, but hopefully, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Hopefully we can kind of reel things back in with the NBA, but not a very good night last night. Some plays were close, yes, but close doesn't count in this industry, you know what I mean? So we got to just take it on the chin, got to brush it off and try and be a little bit better today, but let's go ahead and aim to do that because we do have some good news here. Our ride of the day, we'll drop the cha-ching. We'll drop the crowd noise there too. Ayush for Al Horford over 2.5 assists. This is a nice plus money play for the ride of the day. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. Just use hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me your favorite play. I jump on board with one person's pick. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your pick. So Ayush will be looking for your play today. Just try to get it in by like 1 p.m. Eastern time so people have time to ride with it. But yeah, drop those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. Definitely helps out a lot of people seeing some good plays in the comments there because my picks in the video yesterday. I mean, my video picks are okay, but my actual final plays, what I bet myself, those didn't go all that tremendously. But let's go ahead and dive into game number 1 today. We're looking at the Pistons taking on the Pacers. Obviously, like I already mentioned, we don't have this year data or anything like that to go off of. So some of these breakdowns and whatnot may just be feel spots until we do have data rolling in. So that's just kind of the name of the game, I guess, in terms of sports betting. But you do have a fairly healthy Pistons team, right? A fairly healthy Indiana team, which neither one of these teams really had the luxury of all that much last year. I think Isaiah Jackson's the only one that's dinged up on the Pistons side of things. And then for Detroit, Ausar Thompson is either listed out or doubtful. But overall, the main guys, Halliburton, Cunningham, Ivy, Harris, Duran, we have Pascal Siakam, Turner, like all these guys are looking like they're going to play. In this spot, I don't think 4.5 points is enough. This is a Pacers team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They're returning a lot of those guys. I like them to come in here healthy and get the job done here. So I'm going to lean towards the Pacers minus the 4.5 points. The total sitting at 235.5. It is really high, but you have two teams that didn't necessarily play all that slow last year. I mean, to close out the year, the Pacers were the fifth fastest team. Detroit was top 11, so I could see some serious, running of the court. It's just a matter of if both teams are going to score the ball enough. Like, I think they'll play fast, but 235 is high, so I lean towards the over right now. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite spot or anything that I love, but I'm definitely more inclined to take Pacers minus 4.5 than the over. Now, in terms of a player prop in this spot, I'm actually looking at a guy that kind of came out of not nowhere, I shouldn't say that, but Andrew Nembhard, over 4.5 assists for plus money, plus 110 right now over on DraftKings. Now, Tyrese Halliburton is back. That could take some assists from him, a guy that averaged right around this line, but in the last 20 games last year, averaged nearly 6 assists, and then closed out the year in the NBA Finals with 7, 5, 9, and 10 assists. But I think that he's going to have the ball a decent amount, even with Halliburton playing. He did cash in plenty last year. So, I don't mind Andrew Nembhard for plus 110 here, over 4.5 assists. So that's going to be a player prop that we keep an eye on. But again, keep an eye on the pinned comment for all of our final plays. All right, moving on to game number 2, we got the Raptors taking on the Cavs. Raptors 6-point dogs at home here to open up the season. Total down at 224.5. I've seen some 224, so make sure to keep that in mind if you are, looking at this spot. But overall in this spot, the Cavs are healthy. This is a good team last year. At times looked like, a 1 seed caliber type of a team. And like I mentioned, they're healthy. So I don't mind the Cavs in this spot. Minus 6.5 seems like it could be kind of a high line, but overall, I do think that they come out kind of firing. I would rather them be at home for a number like this, especially on opening night, especially playing, I guess, in another country, even though it's just Canada. But I'll still take them here, minus the 6.5 points. I think that they're going to be able to score from the outside. This was not the best Toronto team in terms of perimeter defense last year. And again, I already mentioned the Cavs have their guys. So they're going to have Garland, Mitchell, and then Mobley and Allen all healthy. And then with Okoro, obviously Levert, Niang, Wade, and whatnot off the bench. So Cavs healthy, I think, is actually, they're going to be very, very slept on if people don't think that they're going to be all that great. In terms of the total, I think that they control the pace, and they weren't all that fast of a team last year. Both of these teams also, I guess I should say the Cavs predominantly a decent transition defense last year, and we're going off of last year's data, so obviously there are some holes in that, but I'm going to lean towards the under 224 in this spot as well. From a player prop perspective, I almost want to just look at Donovan Mitchell over points, rebounds, and assists, but it is way up there. Like, some of these lines, even like the Cavs, right? I think the Cavs are going to be good this year. 6.5 is a decent amount to drop in terms of this early in the year. But Donovan Mitchell closed out the year, again against the Magic and then against the Celtics, kind of on fire. 5 straight games of 40 plus rebounds plus assists. And this is a Toronto team that last season, in terms of points allowed to opposing players, they're 25th. Rebounds allowed to opposing players, 26th. Assists allowed to opposing players, 27th. So not the best of defense. And in terms of the matchup that he's going to get, as of right now, it looks like he may be getting Grady Dick. I don't know if RJ Barrett's playing, but Donovan Mitchell could eat in this spot. So maybe there's some, new season excitement and Donovan Mitchell goes off. So we'll lean in that direction as well. All right, guys, before we do move on to the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Underdog. They have a Victor Wembanyama free pick live right now. And if you use the link in the pinned comment or in the description, the link will be in both places. You're also going to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash when depositing. So go ahead and check that out. Take advantage of this Wembanyama 0.5 points line. Go over there, guys. Link in the pinned comment as well as the description. If you don't know what Underdog is, you take 2 or more players, put them into an entry. The more you win, the more you get paid out. It's really simple, really fast, and really fun. And you get up to $1,000 in bonus cash when signing up today. So go ahead and check it out. That link, again, is in the pinned comment. All right, Hawks taking on the Nets as our next game here right now. Hawks 6-point favorites. We'll fix that graphic right now. Live editing. 6-point favorites at home. The total is at 222.5. This is a Nets team that actually was decent on the defensive end last season. 13th in terms of field goal percentage, but 2-point percentage 7th. They covered the interior pretty damn well. Now, the Hawks obviously going to want to shoot a decent amount of threes with their personnel, with Trae Young and even, DeAndre Hunter nowadays doing that. So, to me, this is not the best matchup defensively for the Nets, but I do think that they can clog up the lane enough to give the Hawks a run for the money here. So I'm going to lean towards the underdog, the Nets plus the 6.5 points. That total is sitting at 222.5. The Hawks at home, obviously going to run. I do think that they could kind of up the tempo. And this is a young Nets team. So originally when looking into this, because I kind of had the Nets, defensive mindset, Nick Claxton in the middle and all that, right? But this is a young Nets team. I think that if this game does go up tempo, we have Thomas, Johnson, Claxton. I think all these guys can kind of run the floor, especially with, Cam Johnson and Thomas as well. So I am going to lean towards the over. You have Jalen Johnson on the Hawks side of things. That's one of the best, fast break running power forward young guys in the league. So I'd look at some of his player props as well in this spot. Nothing else player prop wise jumps out to me, but I'm going to lean towards the Nets plus the 6.5, keeping this one close. I don't mind the over. And then also I'm going to kind of sort of peek at some Jalen Johnson props. Because again, I don't think that the Hawks bigs or even the Hawks in general are going to have the easiest time scoring in the half court at the paint, but the way that they can probably get some easy buckets is by running on this Brooklyn team. So yeah, Jalen Johnson's going to be the guy for that for sure. So in terms of which one I like the most, I would probably say Nets plus the points and then Johnson and then the total though. By the way, guys, let me know if you like the new format where we slide out the team's graphics and it's kind of isolated to the team instead of what we did last year, which was the entire list of games, and then we had an arrow going by in terms of which game we're talking about. Let me know in the comments if you do like the new format. Really, really open to the feedback. This is what we do for MLB now and NFL, so thinking we bring that into the NBA. Let me know. All right, this one probably would have been interesting if everyone was playing. We have the Sixers taking on the Bucks. Looks like Paul George is out, already ruled out. Joel Embiid, same thing here. Chris Middleton also out, and then Giannis is also listed as a game time decision. So injury, I think Giannis should probably play, but injuries being the number one thing to look at here. If Giannis plays, give me the Bucks minus the points. It's at -4 right now. I've seen a couple different -3.5, so maybe that's the move, just buying. I don't know if that's going to matter all that much. Like, there's not as many key numbers in basketball as there is in football. But yeah, overall, I'll take the Bucks, especially with those injuries. Like, Philadelphia is going to have Maxey, who's phenomenal. Oubre, right? Like, that's obviously great. But then Caleb Martin, they're going to go Drummond, maybe Gershon Yabusele, who looked good this offseason, but like, is he good? Like, they don't necessarily have the best cast and crew. Now, that being said, it's Lillard and Giannis versus Maxey. You know, it's not like I mean, I shouldn't say that Maxey's even comparable to those two combined, but Maxey can hold his own, but Lillard and Giannis definitely better, especially with Brook Lopez down there and Bobby Portis off the bench. So I just think the Bucks are better here. I really don't mind the spot. This has a chance to be a strong final play for us, minus the 3.5 points. In terms of the total, I don't necessarily have anything that's overly jumping out to me. What we saw last year was a Philadelphia team that kind of struggled against point guards, especially from three and assists. So maybe this is a look at Damian Lillard on the assist side of things. They also let up plenty of power forward rebounds. Boom, Giannis. So keep an eye on the pinned comment. I could see something happening there. I wanted to kind of target potential look at Kelly Oubre as well. You know, with no Paul George and Joel Embiid, points are going to have to come from somewhere. So maybe that's a spot to look. I will just say Kelly Oubre's numbers here are just a little too inflated. 17.5. The books kind of beat us to the value. You know what I mean? So that's tough. I could consider his over 1.5 threes. That's at -110. You know, he's probably going to take a decent amount of them. So last season with no Joel Embiid on the floor, he took plenty. Let's see if we can get that number. Averaged in terms of attempts, 5 attempts. So for him to just go and hit 2 of those, and he probably will take even more this game because it's him and Maxey and no one else. Like, I don't necessarily mind that spot. So maybe Oubre over 1.5 threes is something that we could consider in this spot here. And I'm not really sold, like I mentioned, on anything total-wise, just with all his injuries. Don't exactly know what to expect. All right, we got the Heat taking on the Magic. Heat 1.5 point favorites at home. Total sitting at 207. I kind of want to start with the total here. We have a very young Magic team, right? Suggs, Wagner, Banchero. And then on the Miami side of things, you have Hero, Rozier, Butler, Jovic, Bam Adebayo. 2 very good defensive teams. And maybe I'm crazy. I'll sound the psycho alert alarm. I think that this is way too low of a number for these two teams here. Now, am I saying that it's going to be an absolute scoring affair, an all-out sort of, blitz type of thing? Not necessarily, but both teams averaged 110 per game last year in terms of what they scored. And then defensively, they both averaged around 108. So even if they play really good defense, I could see this being like a 210 to 215 type finish. So I'm leaning towards the over, and throw in the fact that you have an Orlando team with a lot of young guys that, are going to try and go score. And then on the Miami side of things, you literally have Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero, guys that are not coined as defensive players. They want to go out there and score, right? So I just think this is way too low of a number here. I understand that both these teams had a defensive mindset and mentality and sort of identity last year, but 207.5 is way too low. Cue tomorrow's highlights when it's like a 97 to 87 game. But I'm also going to lean towards the Magic here. I don't know if the points will matter. This is probably going to be a money line play if I roll with it. But honestly, I think that I'm going to lean towards the over more than anything else in terms of a play that I like here in general. And then in terms of player props, both teams have too many variables of anyone could not say go off, but a lot of guys that are trying to prove themselves and whatnot. So I don't really have any player prop spots that I'm loving in this one. All right, we got the Pelicans taking on the Bulls in this one. This is an interesting one. We have DeJounte Murray, who is listed as probable here now in New Orleans Pelicans. So you have Murray, McCollum, Ingram, Williamson, Herb Jones is listed as the center here. Now, I will say that isn't the biggest of lineups, right? But man, that team should be able to run and gun. Now, Zion and DeJounte listed as, I guess DeJounte is now questionable, so maybe neither one of those guys play. That's going to be huge to keep an eye on, because if both of those guys don't play, then I like Chicago. They have the new addition of Josh Giddey, right? So I don't mind the spot for them. But if Murray and Zion get ruled in, I think this is going to be a very good team, a team that has a defensive identity already with some of their role players and whatnot, and then the ability to kind of throw in Murray, McCollum, Ingram, Zion to go give you, any of those guys can give you 25 any night, right? So I think it's going to be a good New Orleans team, very good addition for them overall. Takes the ball out of CJ's hand. He doesn't have to play point guard anymore, right? So I like the Pelicans minus the 6.5, but again, it comes down to whether or not these guys are going to be able to go out there and play. Are they injured or are they healthy? In terms of the total, we're sitting at 227.5. I like the under in this spot. I know I talked about a run and gun team and the Pelicans going slow, but I think the Bulls on the other side are going to be able to sort of go in with the game plan of let's nitpick them in the half court, using the pick and roll, getting Vucevic involved, because this isn't the biggest of New Orleans teams, right? So I like the under. I think that even if New Orleans is controlling this game, Chicago's going to do their damn best to kind of try and slow the pace and take it to the half court. So give me the under 227. I also like Vucevic over 30. I guess I could go with actually for plus money here. I was going to go in terms of his points, rebounds, and assists, but I'm going to go just back to his points plus rebounds for plus 100 right now over on DraftKings, over 29.5 points plus rebounds. Last season, New Orleans allowed the 6th most rebounds to opposing centers and the 9th most points. He had 35 last time he played New Orleans in terms of points plus rebound. He went for 22 and 13. And again, this isn't the biggest of Pelicans teams, especially their starting lineup, right? Herb Jones listed as their center at 6'7". That's a little, I guess we could say, worrisome, right? This team is going to play small ball. Vucevic should eat. So give me his over points plus rebounds in this spot for plus 100 on DraftKings. Honestly, that's probably got a really good chance of being a final play. All right, guys, comment 16 if you made it this far into the video. We made it 16 minutes in. I do appreciate it. I know we didn't have a great night one, but we're going to try and bounce back and do our damn best to do so. So comment 16. I love seeing all the returning and recurring usernames and users that are sticking around. We're building such a good community here. So go ahead and comment 16 if you made it this far into the video. I don't take any of this shit for granted. I tell you guys that each and every time I have the opportunity. Quit my job in March. Now this is our first full-time NBA season. I'm so damn excited. Appreciate each and every one of you. Even the guppies, I appreciate you to some degree. Moving on to the Rockets taking on the Hornets. An interesting one here. We have the Rockets laying 7 points. Now, I guess that makes sense. They're fairly healthy. They add, Adams, right? But their starting lineup looks pretty good. Van Fleet, Jalen Green. Jalen Green looking phenomenal, right? Early on. Dylan Brooks, defensive. Jabari Smith Jr., Alfie Sengun. They look like they could be a pretty damn good team. And they exceeded expectations for so long last year and then kind of fell flat. You could blame them on injuries and whatnot, but still, they did for a lot of the season look really, really good, right? And I think they're deeper than a lot of people might give them credit for as well, which is crazy. On the Charlotte side of things, Josh Green listed as questionable here. Mark Williams already listed as out, but LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges, not exactly the worst young sort of core either. I think that this one could go either way. I'm going to say because the Rockets are at home here, I'm going to lay the points -7 with the Rockets. In terms of a total 229, it's very, very high, but the Rockets were a top 10 pace team last year, and Charlotte was a very slow team, so it's kind of like, which are we getting, Jekyll or Hyde? Is it going to be a Rockets game or a Charlotte game? Because I'm leaning Rockets minus the points, I'm going to assume that they kind of control the tempo of this one, and they're at home, so a lot of indicators pointing at an over. In terms of a player prop, similar to the Orlando and Miami spot, I don't necessarily have anything that I'm loving here because you do have a lot of different factors and dynamics on these teams, and that's something that I'm looking at early on. Like last night, we saw the Celtics and Knicks. Miles McBride, Deuce McBride is going to be a huge part of that offense. He didn't even start last night, right? So I want to see some of these dynamics when they have a lot of different factors and different players involved. Like, is it going to be a LaMelo? Is it going to be a Miller? Or is it going to be a Miles Bridges type team? Is this going to be a Jabari Smith Jr. and Sengun team? Or is Jalen Green going to totally take the reins and whatnot? Like that's the type of things that I'm looking for in these types of teams. So no real player props as of right now, unfortunately. Next up, we got the Grizzlies taking on the Jazz. In fact, we got to flip those around. Memphis is away. Jazz is at home. You're seeing a real-life mental breakdown. Boom. That's how we do things quickly, huh? All right, guys. So we have the Jazz and Memphis. Jazz at home, 3-point dogs. The total right now is at 228.5. This is a relatively healthy Jazz team here. They have Keontae George, Colin Sexton, Markkanen, Hendricks at power forward, and then John Collins at the center. Not the biggest of teams, right? But you flip over to Memphis, and it's kind of a tale of a different tape here. You have Morant, Smart, Desmond Bane. Now, it looks like Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to play here, but then Zach Edey at the center position. So this is either going to be a game in which, this is how I'd play it. The Jazz are going to be able to run on this Memphis team because, you have Edey down there. I think it's even, who would their backups be? Clark and Aldama, right? In terms of playing for Jaren Jackson. And then, on the other side, the Jazz, you have Hendricks, you have John Collins. Like, they should be able to move. Or Memphis kind of controls this one and plays a little half-court ball and gets the ball down to the big rook there in Edey. But to me, I'm going to take the points at home here with the Jazz. They're healthy. They have scorers. I mean, Sexton, Markkanen, and Collins is like a underrated, kind of sneaky. I don't want to call him a big three. Don't be jumping down my throat. But I like the spot, and I do think that they're going to run as well. So I'll lean towards the over. Now, a player prop I'm liking, and I think that's going to benefit from a up-tempo game, is going to be Marcus Smart over 3.5 assists. Now, obviously, he didn't play. I think he only played 21 games last year for Memphis. He still hit the over in 55% of games. So I think that he's going to be a facilitator here with guys on your team like Morant, with Bane, even with Edey being able to dump it down there and getting a nice little, layup. I think that this is a good spot for Marcus Smart to get some assists. And I'm a Celtics fan. I've watched Marcus Smart for pretty much his entire career. 3.5 is a very low line. My only concern is he going to be totally involved in the offense and that type of thing? So there are some calls for concern, but overall 3.5 still seems like a fairly low line. So I'm going to go ahead and take the bait there. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we ultimately do end up rolling with it, because, again, these are all leans. They're all spots that I like, but I spend hours and hours for the rest of the day looking into these plays, guys, to make sure that what I'm rolling with, I actually love myself. That's why I give them to you for free in the pinned comment, but you get tons of leans here in the video, information in which you can do with what you want. But before we do move on to the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about the merch we have here on the channel. I'm almost rocking this exact outfit right now, that sexy model on the homepage there. The Gambler collection, guys. We just dropped the Gambler Fall 2024 collection. We have the rope hat, comes in multiple different colors. The Super Comfort hoodie. I'm rocking the old Gambler Super Comfort hoodie. This is literally the best product I think we've ever launched. We have it in 3 different colors here for the fall. Make sure to go pick it up, guys. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. fademe.store. Go support what we're doing over here. We have a lot of fun shirts, fun clothes, but then we have some legitimate premium quality stuff like this Fade Me heavyweight tee from hoodie from Champion. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, that's fademe.store if you do want to support what we're doing here and pick up some great merch like the over is smacking this hat. Go ahead and check it out. Link in the pinned comment, or just go to fademe.store. Blazers, 6-point dogs at home against the Warriors here. Total sitting at 222. No Klay Thompson on the Warriors. Remember, that looks like Brandon Podziemski is going to be taking that starting spot from him, even though he didn't even start fully last year, right? For the Blazers side of things, looks like Shaedon Sharpe's the only major injury. I think Robert Williams still out as well, but their starting lineup, Henderson, Simons, Denny Abadou, right? Abadja, Jeremy Grant, and DeAndre Ayton starting there. I think this could be a decent game, but I still kind of trust the Warriors to be able to pull away at the end. Blazers are not a very good in the paint team. Now, not necessarily in the restricted area. I don't want to make that mistake. But in terms of in the paint, they allowed almost a 50% field goal percentage last year. And Jonathan Kuminga is a player prop I'm looking at for plus money right now, over 17.5 points. So that's definitely something of consideration to me. But overall, I'm going to lay the points with the Warriors, minus the 6. In terms of the total, I'm going to lean towards the under. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be that high flying of a game. I think if the Blazers try to do that, the Warriors are kind of savvy enough and whatnot to be able to say, hey, let's slow this down. And then in terms of transition, last year we saw Portland only shoot 47% from transition. So even if they have this young team and, they want to go and run with Scoot and Simons and whatnot, it's not like you have Denny Avdija and DeAndre Ayton looking to run all that much. And then 2, even if you do run in transition, your transition offense was terrible last year. So I don't necessarily love that spot for them. Now, I will say, if you do like the over, here's a little good nugget. Both these teams actually struggled at transition defense. Portland allowed nearly 58%, just over 57 actually, percent field goal percentage in terms of transition offense last year against them. Golden State right around 55, so not exactly all the best there. But yeah, like I mentioned, guys, I think I'm going to lean towards the Warriors minus the points, the under, as well as a potential look at Kuminga. Now, I'm not all that sold on the Kuminga. If it was not plus money, I don't know if I'd be, that enthralled by it. So keep that in mind, and like I've said a million times in this video, keep an eye on the pinned comment. I got to just make a Fade Me shirt that just says keep an eye on the pinned comment, so I don't have to say it all that much. But then again, I wear shirts that say fade me, and people still get mad when I get picks wrong, right? So I guess people aren't reading the shirts anyways. All right, last game of the slate, we got the Clippers taking on the Suns. Clippers getting 5 points here at home. Totals at 225. Kawhi Leonard looks like he's already ruled out, so that's obviously a tough spot here for the Clippers. So it's going to be James Harden, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Derek Jones, and Ivica Zubac going up against Tyus Jones, Booker, Beal, Durant, and Nurkic. I think that this is obviously a good a good Suns team by the names of it, but are they going to click? I'm not necessarily certain. It's another year of Booker, Beal, and Durant together, and they're all healthy right now. So I do think that at some point these guys obviously mesh and click well. So I'll lean towards the Suns minus the points here. -5 doesn't seem like it's all that much. Maybe we get it at 4.5 so we don't get burned by that overall. In terms of the total, don't have the biggest of feels here. Two decent transition defenses a year ago, and two decent transition offenses, so those kind of cancel out. Maybe I'd look at like a Phoenix team total over in terms of, let's see if we can find what we can get for that real time as of right now. So a Phoenix team total over at, let's see, for the best odds out there, looks like you can get over 113.5 for -140. I don't necessarily hate that. That may be a look. I think that this team is going to mesh a little bit better. In terms of a player prop, I considered Devin Booker, his over in assists right now for his assists. It's at 5.5 now. I know Tyus Jones is going to get more of the point guard role, but Booker still should get the ball in his hands plenty. And even if he gets the ball in his hands, he still has, Nurkic down low to dump off to, and then Beal or Durant, who both can hit sort of catch and shoot shots, right? So for +110, yes, we're looking at a lot of plus money this year. I don't mind Booker over 5.5 assists. So again, Suns minus the points, team total over for the Suns, because I don't know how big I'm going to be on this Clippers team if they don't have Kawhi. And then I guess I'm going to look at Booker's over in assists. And guys, that's going to wrap it up for day 2 of the NBA. Please, let's try and make it a little bit better than day number 1. We're still being conservative. Like yesterday, we just rolled with a bunch of half-unit plays and whatnot just because, again, we need data. We want to back our plays with analytics and whatnot. It's not just a feel game. Like sports betting is very important to get data, right? So overall, that's super, super important. And we'll wait and be patient to get that data for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks into the season. You know what I mean? Before we start really going balls to the wall. But nonetheless, guys, that is going to wrap it up. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.